So welcome everybody to today's event with Lightricks, and I'm really excited to have our guest Nimrod Gruber with us. Hi, Nimrod.
Hi, excited to be here. Thanks, Jonni, and thank you, Vered, and everyone who came.
Great. So just a small introduction. This is going to be very the event is going to be very open and what we call informal. You can ask all the questions you want, and we're going to first start with a few Q&A. I'm going to ask some questions to Nimrod, and we're going to have a small talk first, and maybe the first 20 half hour, and then we're going to open up the floor for questions from you guys. And this is your opportunity to sitting here with what we call on the other side of the table. You feel like you're on the one side, right? You're always just sending out the CV. Now, who's actually looking at those CV? What's actually happening after that, right? So now you have the opportunity, and you should take it. So basically, Nimrod, he oversees and manages all hiring activities at Lightricks, which is basically one of Jerusalem's fastest growing companies, tech companies. It's probably the most one of the most talked about companies right now. Nimrod is originally from Haifa, as you mentioned, and early on he graduated from Haifa University. Nimrod has been in Lightricks from 2017, where he started off as a software developer and with hands-on experience in C and Swift. And then from 2019, Nimrod basically became an in-house headhunter at Lightricks, and in 2020 also added that he's also responsible for M&A scouting, so that's merger and acquisition scouting. And then in 2021, this year, Nimrod became the head of recruitment and headhunting in Lightricks. And besides that, also Nimrod also moderates and curates the company-wide weekly Q&A events with the CEO and other founders. And before Nimrod, you get a chance to also explain a little bit about Lightricks and stuff like that, I just want to mention that the CEO of Lightricks is actually an Ole, right? Or he's a Russian, original Ole from Russia, and the nicest guy ever. And he has a very nice Russian accent. He's very excited about, in general, when we talk about Olim and talk about like, can we integrate more Olim into Lightricks, he's always very positive about it. So, I'm very excited to have Lightricks with us. So, Nimrod, give us a small introduction. What is Lightricks?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for that warm introduction. So nice to hear someone else such nice stuff. People might believe everything you said, so take it with a grain of salt. No, I'm kidding. Okay, about Lightricks. Well, as you said, like Lightricks is the beating heart of creativity tech in Jerusalem, and I think in Israel. It's a really nice success story, Israeli success story. The four founders, one of them, which you've mentioned earlier, started here in the Huji campus, doing their PhD in computer science, focusing on computer vision, and basically pivoted to the consumer world, to the business world. Currently, the company is evaluated at more than $1 billion. It's a more than $1 billion company, unicorn status. We specialize at image processing, video processing, and sound. We create creative tools, and that's, I think, the forte of Lightricks at the moment. And as we expand today, we also add another layer on top of it, which isn't just the creative tools, but it's actually merging and leveraging the creative economy that is created around all these digital creations that our users create. Just like a rough sketch of Lightricks, we have 3 targeted audience. We have all the artists and creative content creators. That's like one pillar of Lightricks activity. We have all the people that are social influencers and love their social avatar and love fashion and beauty and style. So that's like the Facetune pillar of Lightricks. And we have also tools for business, small and medium businesses called Boosted, that helps businesses create marketing materials and creative ads to their clients. That's largely Lightricks, and you can like download everything. I mean, all our products are freemium, so you can use them freely and enjoy them and understand what they do immediately. It's fun and powerful. It's part of what we do. And if you want the premium functionality, then you pay a subscription, a monthly subscription or a yearly subscription. And currently we're close to 5 million subscribers. Like, people actually vote with their wallets. I mean, they if you give them lots of value, they pay you back. And we have like roughly 40 million monthly active users that create over like 400 million digital creations each month. So in the world, even in the post-corona world, but even before the corona, it's like creating a movement, and Lightricks is situated really well nowadays to make a huge impact in that sphere. So that's generally about Lightricks. We have roughly 500 employees, almost 500 employees, 4 branches, one in the Huji campus. It's one of the most beautiful campuses, I think, in Israel. If you like greenery and fountains and like a different high tech, if you like steel and glass, then look for Tel Aviv. But if you like something more of a kibbutz vibe, come to Lightricks. We have also offices in Haifa, in Matam, in the high-tech zone there, and in London, and in Shenzhen, in China. So that's like Lightricks in a glance.
And you did mention actually, I think probably the product that most people would know, and that would be Facetune.
Yeah, true. It's actually now a whole suite of products. You have Facetune 2, which is like your selfie editor, and you have Facetune Video, which does the same things Facetune does, but for videos. And you have filter tunes to like create your own unique brand for your images and then tune them, and Scene, the story editor. So it's like a whole. It's like one bundle that basically covers all the power users of social networks, brand influencers, makeup artists, people like that. That social avatar is a big part of their identity, and that's one of the most known products.
Yeah, I've been using personally Facetune for a long time, and just remind me. It was at one point, it was one of the most downloaded apps on Apple, right? Or was it also an Android store?
Yeah, well, lots of awards, both from Apple and Google, Design Awards, Best App of the Year Award, most downloaded app worldwide. I mean, in the top of the list, top paid in that specific category. But eventually, all of these awards are cool. But when you see the users and their retention patterns and the big part of that the app takes from inside their life, and how it helps them connect with others and express themselves creatively, again in a fun and powerful way, it's better than those rewards. I mean, it's more gratifying, it's more satisfying to know that your products are actually valuable to people. And we get that we have like a very active customer experience department, and they bring us all these feedbacks on a daily basis. So user love is much appreciated. I mean, it has more impact, at least on my sense of on a personal level. I mean, I enjoy it more. But
okay,
yeah.
Okay, great. So what I was thinking about was what kind of, who works at what are the profiles you have at Lightricks? Where you employed? Like, is designers, obviously, software engineers? What else do you have in the organization?
That's a great question. Lightrix basically has, you can imagine three major verticals, like the product vertical, the engineering one, and the marketing one. And if you picture, I like the metaphor of the zoo. If you picture Lightrix as a zoo, it has all kinds of animals in it. I mean, we're very diversified in our in the population of people that are part of Lightrix, both from the geographical standpoint, Jerusalem, Haifa, London, and China, but also from the places people come from. I mean, if you look at it from a profession standpoint, so you have engineers, you have designers, you have product people, you have marketing people, you have like the general and administration, so you have finance and legal and people working, I mean, cultivating the gardens outside, like gardeners. And it's a really nice blend of people, and they all interact with one another in all sorts of ways, which is a big part of, I think, what makes Lightrix creative and innovative in the products that it does, because you get all these perspectives combined, and of course all the users. So so if I have to profile the typical person that works at Lightrix, it would be a really hard task. I mean, almost impossible. Each individual here is unique and different, and it's really nice. It's also part of the fun of being part of Lightrix, from my standpoint.
And so what kind of technologies, when you're looking, what is in demand right now? What technologies are in demand? You can obviously look at the website and see what you're looking for. So that's unusual. But what is the technologies that are usually in demand, and what is the culture like? What are you looking for when you're looking for employees in general, besides the technology?
So to answer your first part, the technologies, I mean, it varies based on the relevant platform. But if we're talking from the engineering standpoint, so we develop apps, state-of-the-art apps for mobile. So for iOS, we work with Objective-C and Swift, and we work on Xcode. For Android, we work with Java and Kotlin. We also do like bleeding cutting-edge image processing there, and we work with all sorts of third-party libraries and exclusive technologies that you usually don't stumble upon in your average day-to-day app development out there. If you're talking about web, we work with JavaScript and React backend, so it's Python and AWS and Kubernetes. So, I mean, lots of technologies and tools that we use, but at the end of the day, what matters is that you're always working at the highest level possible. I mean, if you want to achieve great results, indeed, I said earlier that Lightrix works on a freemium model. So in order to be successful in a freemium world, you have like cutthroat competition in from the premium products and from the free ones. So you really have to provide a golden premium experience to your customers. And in order to be able to do that, you have to be at the bleeding cutting edge of the technology, of the product, of the UX, of the UI, of the design. Everything has to be perfect and create a magical feeling for the users for it to work. So, and we can dive into that, but I hope that answers that. And in terms of cultural, you asked, I'll rephrase and tell me if it's correct. You asked about the cultural fit that we're looking for.
Yeah, what and how important is it when you're looking? We're going to go into that later now about the hiring in general, and that's also to learn in general about how hiring works in Israeli tech companies. But for you, how important is the cultural fit when you're looking at a candidate? Let's say he fits well technology-wise, then how important is it the culture fit? And is there something called, like, how would you define the culture then?
Again, I think that's a wonderful way to observe and to learn and to think about about this question of cultural fit. And at Lightricks, we don't have HR interviews. We don't believe in HR interviews. What we do seek from an HR standpoint is for the person to be personable, nice, like respectful to their colleagues, and communicative. I mean, we have really hard to solve problems, and we need experts in their domain to communicate with one another in order to tackle these problems. So basically, once you're just nice to the persons around you, to the people around you, and communicate your thoughts and your concerns in a clear and concise manner, that's all what we need. And during the process, we really try hard to make the potential employee meet the potential manager and see that they work well together. But these are basically our only guiding criteria. And if, as you've stated, like there's a great technological fit, or the technological gatekeepers are satisfied with the level of professionalism of that employee, then all they need to do is just be easy, nice, and communicative, and they'll just land the job.
Okay.
From our perspective, it just works. This has proven itself so thus far. So I'm hoping it will keep doing that. So it's a great. I mean, obviously there are all sorts of other traits that are valuable in general. You look for people that are hungry to learn, that people that are curious, passionate about their craft, consider their craft as the most interesting thing that they can do, and want to excel in it always and always learn. But these things are like these traits. If you're someone at the top of your game, you are likely to have these traits built in within you. Otherwise, you won't have these. You won't be the number one. You won't be the best player, or the top 1% of your domain. No likelihood. So we are gunning for like really the best of the best people out there, and if they have that and they're nice and they're communicative, that's just enough for us.
Okay. So take us through the hiring process of Lightricks. Like, how does it? Now, after this meeting, someone gets very inspired and he sees a position on the website, and he forwards he sends his CV, submits his CV. Then what happens? And let's say he gets through the first filter, which is like he's going to get what is the process?
Yeah. So first of all, I think the most important phase is like to review the opening. Our site is really like it's our source of truth, and it's extremely. I mean, we believe if there are cultural values, so I can state the two most obvious ones are meritocracy and transparency at Lightricks. So our website, in a way, reflects that in terms of hiring. I mean, the jobs you have, the job openings you have there, the job openings we have at Lightricks, and the first step would be just to find the perfect fit for you. I mean, look at your resume, look at your talents, look at what you want to do, what you're passionate about, where you see yourself going in life. And if you find a job there that fits your needs and your dreams, and you answer the criteria, then submit to that job and not to any other job. I mean, sometimes people just spam us, and it's a really bad indicator. I mean, we see in our system if someone submitted to 5 different roles, and that's a really strong indication that they're probably not the right fit for any of them.
So why is that? So I want to actually, because that is something where we do experience a lot when Olim sends us 3 or 4 positions within the same company, and obviously they look through the site and they see that those 3 or 4 positions could be relevant for me. Why is that bad to do, and for how many positions can you apply to at one time?
So obviously, technically speaking, you can apply to all the positions you want, but I mean, it has a bad smell. It sends a bad signal. I mean, it says something about that candidate that they're probably, I mean, the world's best someone at a specific domain wouldn't be interested in a different domain and wouldn't like to pursue a different domain at that specific moment. And when you're saying that, basically you're saying, look, I'm a generalist. Now, some positions are what you're looking for is a generalist. And in these cases, this could be valuable. But usually if you look at our openings and at most openings at other websites, companies are looking for specific talents, for specific experience, for specific expertise, and for specific passions. I mean, a designer is very different from, in most cases, from a marketing person, and the marketing person is very different in most cases. Again, there are edge cases, but by and large, from a creative person, a designer. And basically, when you're saying you're a jack of all trades, then you're a master of none. I mean, I can't stress this point. And it also means that you're not focused enough on what you want to do. And we prefer someone that is like 100% sure and locked and knows what he wants to do, what they want to do. It doesn't disqualify them. I mean, we always act based on judgment, and we consider the situation, but it's just not a good signal. That's what I'm saying. But if someone applied to 10 different jobs and he happens to be a good fit for one of them, we would like to pursue and check this further, but it will be a red flag. It will be something that will lower the chances of conversion down the line.
Okay. So that's a good point to get into. So basically, you're suggesting that people just do one would just apply for one position usually. So they say this is the best position for me, best fit. It's true there's a backend and there's a full stack, and I could be good at both, but I'm going to choose one, and this will send a much better signal that I know what I want and I know where my strengths are.
Yeah. I mean, and again, it's a matter of circumstances. So if someone applied to, let's take the best case scenario, there are 2 backend openings and someone applied to both backend openings. That's one case. That's far more reasonable. But if there is like a software opening which requires high amount of expertise, and there's a marketing opening which requires a high amount of expertise, and that person submitted to both, and in both cases that person doesn't have the sufficient requirements, it doesn't send the right message. It doesn't send the message that you're actually connected to the reality out there. So that's
so I took you out on a sidetrack, but let's go back to my original question was the hiring process of Lightricks. Yeah.
So someone submits a CV, great. Well, the hiring partner on Lightricks then receives the CV and they review it, obviously, and they try. I mean, what they focus on, you have to understand that the Lightricks, the hiring partner and the hiring department, it's any company, has a huge incentive to find the right fit. I mean, when someone sends a CV, that's like a super important event in the life cycle of a company and of the hiring team. So they review it. It's not something that sometimes people say, well, I should send it to a friend or someone. Let's talk about it a bit later because it's an issue on its own. But I want to just go through the hiring process first. My mind drifted for a moment. But so the hiring team reviews the CV. They check for a match between the relevant skills the person presents they have and the requirements for the job. Assuming they see a possible match, they usually show it to the hiring manager, to the team that will actually be absorbing accommodate that potential hire. And assuming we have 2 yeses on that CV, we proceed to a phone interview to talk a little bit about Lightricks, to make sure the person is aware of Lightricks. Let's say it's in Jerusalem, the job is this and that. Because a lot of times we also get people just spam CVs all over the place. And when you call them, they don't know who you are. Lightricks, I don't remember, tell me I spammed. They just bluntly say to you, I spammed my CV everywhere. Basically, I don't care who you are, just tell me what your job is. And again, it doesn't disqualify you, but it puts you at a disadvantage when compared to other people that are like, oh yes, Lightricks, I'm so happy to hear from you. I know everything about you, so excited to hear more. Thank you for calling. I mean, worlds apart in terms of the impression you leave at the head of the recruiter for that matter. We try to make a very short hiring process. Basically, first interview, if it goes well, there's a take-home test, and if it goes well, just a follow-up interview and then an offer. End to end, this process can take 1 week. So pending on calendar availability and stuff like that, but it's really short once you get into the interview. And I can dive into details if anyone is interested, so I'll happily do so. But, yeah, I see Shlomo, you're nodding, and Alina, great. So focus me, like free from talk. I mean, just ask and I'll elaborate more. I can talk for hours, as you see. So it's good that you focus on what's best for you, what's interesting.
Shlomo, you want to ask a quick question?
You say that you don't have a HR interview. You just have technical interview. You say that?
Yeah, that's correct. We don't buy into. I mean, by and large, again, in some cases, the HR interview is an important. I mean, meeting, like, let's say, the HR business partner of the unit. If you're joining a unit and you're going to lead it, then it's really important that you have a good fit with the business partner from the HR side. But in most cases, in order to pass, I'm saying that the HR side, then you just have to be nice and communicative from the beginning of the process, all throughout, and that's it. I mean, there's nothing else to it. We understand that people are different, and different types and flavors of personalities can fit different places in a huge organization, where you have like 500 employees. Everyone can find their own special place to have a huge impact and flourish. So we don't believe that we need to filter. We need we need the super inquisitive type of person, or we need I don't know, the extrovert or the introvert, or we need an aggressive person, or we need a salesperson, or we need the I don't know, the creative type or the analytical type. It just doesn't prove, it doesn't hold water, it doesn't predict success. What predicts success best is these parameters, basically. If you have them, I mean, these things, and you're genuinely interested in the position, and you genuinely see yourself in it, you'll find intelligent ways to blend in. And the technical part embodies, I mean, it's like we frame it as one box, but it includes like true intellectual power and genuine curiosity and expertise in your domain. But if you have all these aspects in you, it doesn't really matter what's your background, where you're from. We don't care about the general, labels that the talent has. We're interested in the talent, not anything else. So, and of course, niceness, communicativeness.
Yes, of course.
Done. You're all good.
So you have so again, how many steps until from the minute that he gets the first connection, the first contact, he submits the CV, you contact him, then how many steps until you get hired, basically?
So in most cases, it's just first interview, exercise, take-home test, and second interview, like 3 phases. And they can take, from start to finish, they can take 1 week, based on how fast you progress in the process, and based on calendar availability of all people involved. But it really is kind of fast, I mean, we aim for a really short process,
but it involves also like a coding interview where you're getting invited and you sit together with whoever's going to be your potential manager, and you sit and code together, or do a whiteboard coding or something like that, right?
Yeah. Now we know that
part of the process also.
That's part of the process. We know that whiteboard coding is like, it's a stressful event, and people tend to underperform in these events. So we really try to make it as simple as possible. What we care more about in this phase is that the candidate will show basic competency and communicate their thoughts and their thought process, and just be open about it. The hard part, the heavy lifting part, comes at the take-home test, and not in the first interview. The first interview, and we also prepare candidates, and we tell them like how to prepare to that interview and how to ace it, and we give them time to. Some people want extra time, so we have no problem. Like, sure, let's schedule the interview for a week from today or 2 weeks from today. If you need the time, we'll gladly let you have it. It's not where it's not the major focus in terms of the technical gatekeeping.
Okay. Jessica, you have a question. This is really come back to my, my Danish background in school, where we always raise our hands. So I'm really happy that you now became Israeli enough. What is your question, Jessica?
The question is, for example, what tools do you use in some apartment used to attract this talent that is hard to attract? If it's not a HR person like source or recruiter, which tools this person use? So
just to make sure I understand, you're asking what tools we use to attract top talents in Israel and in general?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure. So part of it is like being present at all sorts of talks like this to let people know that Lightrix is part of the ecosystem. A lot of it is we have our website, we have online campaigns running, paid campaigns, we have partnerships, collaborations with agencies and headhunters, external headhunters. We have lots of employer branding activities, and we are part of the ecosystem in Jerusalem. We're participating in the Huji Hackathon and in career fairs and like special, all sorts of activities that let people, first of all, know that we exist. So that if they don't know we exist, then they can't actually consider us. And then once they know we exist, tell them what we do and hope that it excites them. They care about whether it's creativity or computer vision or being a creator and an influencer, or just doing fun and powerful things, or being part of the Jerusalem creative ecosystem, whatever. It doesn't really matter being part of a unicorn, very successful Israeli startup, and then just see if there's a match. But it is a huge challenge, Jessica. I mean, that's what I mean, it's really hard because I think, Jonni, you said it earlier, that there's more demand than supply in terms of relevant human resource in the high-tech field, and we feel it. We fight for every talent out there.
Every Israeli tech companies are fighting these days about that's why bringing in a pool from abroad is what we feel is going to help the Israeli ecosystem continue to flourish. Right now, a lot of the companies are also just, when they need 100 developers at one point and there's not enough good developers in Israel, they just open up an outsource department in Ukraine or something. There's a lot of companies solving the problem like that, which is a shame. But it's a shame if you look at it, like it would be much better if we have our own talents. So that's why we need you guys. And we have actually 2 people from abroad in the US, close to each other. Beth from Connecticut and Ari is from New York, I think. So let's talk with Ari. Have a raise hands. Quick, short question. Ari, unmute yourself first.
Yeah, sure. How many applications do you typically get for a software opening?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it varies a lot. I think last year we had like something for Lightrix as a whole, like 10,000 applicants throughout the year. And for software development position, so if it's a junior one, we usually get a lot of applicants. If it's a senior role, it's usually harder because there aren't a lot of seniors in our specific domain in around Jerusalem. So we really are looking for them, and I'll tell you, some pipelines can be completely dry. I mean, we'll publish them and we'll go on for months without any applicant. We'll have to do active search to find the relevant people, and when we do, we're extremely happy. So it varies, and it's a big challenge.
Okay.
You have to like throw a number. Obviously, it's a range, but if you had to throw a number on that.
So for some of them, it's like few, let's say like that, and for some of them, it can be hundreds. So rough ballpark of this.
Okay, so thanks, Ari. I'm just gonna go to, then we're gonna go move up. So now when you guys are here, actually, Ari and Bet. So again, they are in New York and in Connecticut. So let's say if they would apply today and they think about they're gonna make an Aliyah in 3 or 4 months. I don't know what your plans are, Ari. I'm just throwing it out as a hypothetical idea. How would that be perceived at a company like Lightricks? Like you get a CV and he says like, I'm making Aliyah to Jerusalem. You look like a religious person, so maybe you're willing to Jerusalem, but I'm just saying hypothetically, how would you consider it? Would you consider it? Or and what would your thoughts be?
Yeah, so absolutely. And if you're applying from abroad, it is important to note that you are planning an Aliyah, because people that submit their CVs from abroad but aren't planning an Aliyah are automatically rejected. I mean, we don't hire outside of Israel. I mean, unless you're for the London branch or the Shenzhen branch. So you'll have to say that, but assuming you're planning to come to Israel, that's great. I mean, we'll be really happy to evaluate to review your CV, and if there's a concrete match, a concrete professional match, we just progress. I mean, we plan for years ahead. People at Lightricks, I consider myself, I'm not an employee of Lightricks. Lightricks is my business. It's my passion. It's what I do. It's what I live, eat, breathe. I mean, when I go home and I take a shower at the end of the day, what I think about in the shower is Lightricks and the things I did today and what I'm planning to do next. And so we're looking for people that are willing to go the distance. And so if you're coming in a few months, but you're a great fit for us, we'll definitely consider you. So I strongly advise you to do that and not be deterred by it, and don't wait for it, because, you know, you may say, no, you know what, I'll wait 4 more months and then I'll apply. But in 4 more months from now, the position is very likely to be closed because someone else took that job. And if you're the better fit for that position, we'd really like to give you the chance to prove it and join us. Another direction is to, you know, like showcase your work in somewhere in a place where it counts. I mean, contribute to an open source project and have your contribution evaluated by peers, by professionals, and have them attest to your talent and, you know, appreciate your contribution. I can tell you, I'll give you an example from my world as a headhunter. I mean, a lot of my targets in the past, well, headhunting was my main focus, was me talking with Yaron, our CTO and co-founder, and he tells me, look, this guy, I reviewed his GitHub profile, his Stack Overflow, he's phenomenal. I met him at a conference and I talked to him about our issues, and he really impressed me. So people will like to bring you in if they get signals from you that you check the relevant boxes. And you might be facing a situation where you still need to improve your skills to stand out in comparison to what there is out there. So that's what I would mainly do. Perhaps another training course or a full-on degree for that matter and excel in it, or contribute to an open source that can prove that you're an elite in your field, that even as a junior you've become an expert. And I think in programming, that's part of the beauty of it. If you really dive deep into it, you can reach a really high level of expertise in compared to the market in a relatively short amount of time. Because a lot of people just use the basics and they stay at a certain level. And if you really dive into the technical details, you'll be just ahead of your game. And these open sources, contests, all these environments, hackathons, like objective targets, you should just pursue them, and then people will pursue you. There are quite a few that have nonlinear career path that are part of Lightrix. At the end of the day, again, we try to find a match between the person, passion, talent, curiosity, and general cognitive ability. Sure, and assuming there's a match there, we'll be happy to continue and progress. With it. The entire HR team is not a standard HR team. I mean, the head of HR at Lightrix has her first degree in physics and her second degree in philosophy, and actually was leading an NGO nonprofit organization before she joined Lightrix, a high-tech company. So that's just one example, but I think it's symbolic because she's the head of HR, so it shows you the openness to these types of narratives.
But you have to kind of like, sorry, I'm interrupting, but it's kind of like, and also for you, Elena, you have to kind of like be able to explain, like I think the question is like, you can be from those have non-linear background, but you have to explain how it all makes sense. You have to connect the dots for someone like Nimrod, I think, right? If you just put out the CV like this is me, make sense of my life. No, you have to kind of like make sense of your life for him, and then people will understand, but they don't have the time to make this analysis themselves. So if you can show the paths in your own history and background, how everything leads to this position, even though it wouldn't make obvious sense, I think, right, Nimrod? Would you say that?
Absolutely, and it's not just a matter of time. I mean, even if we had limitless resources, which we don't, but assuming we had, we would still want the candidate that is coming from a situation where they need to explain themselves, to give some context, to be able to first understand the situation and be communicated properly, because it's a really good indication to how they'll be able to blend in further down the line. Yeah, of course, 100%.
Making sense of one's life is one's job, of course.
Yeah, but really, so you can. The whole thing is that you can really use it to your strengths, and a lot of people don't use it to their strengths, I think.
Changing your focus is a tricky subject. I mean, one way to go about it, if you already work at a company, then you can, and you've gained much, sufficient street credit in what you do, and people appreciate you there. So you're likely to get chances to do whatever you want. I mean, at least this is how it works in Lightrix. The interoperability between teams, between tech teams, is quite vast at Lightrix, assuming the person show the core competencies that we seek in people that are part of our community. So wherever you are working, I would just seek out those opportunities while maintaining top performer level at your backend, let's say backend expertise, and tell your peers and direct manager, like, look guys, I'm really looking forward to jumping into a new project in the front-end realm. Can you help me? Let's see if we have something. And they are likely to really want to help you, because otherwise they'll just lose you. So that's one way to go about it. The other way to go about it is, of course, like do training. I mean, specifically at Lightricks, we have like 10% training program for all employees. I mean, employees growth and development program, so they can choose professional areas of expertise they want to excel in, and then learn them and invest part of their time, 10%, it's like half a day a week in it. So become proficient in those areas until you'll be strong enough to properly propose your application for a real job there, even though you don't have all the necessary requirements. And since inside the organization people know you really well, they're likely to let you have it. So that's another way to go about it. The third way would be just to apply to junior roles out there and explain, look, I'm an expert backend developer, but I'm looking to transition into the front-end world because it excites me, it fascinates me. I think this is where my life is going right now, and I'll be really happy to show you, you know, how well I can perform in this domain. So please give me a chance, and I can show you also my expertise in backend and perhaps combine the two. Like try to find your way into those worlds. But you have to understand it's an uphill battle, not an extreme uphill battle, but it is an uphill battle. So adjust your thinking and again your narrative accordingly, and be willing to make the effort to bridge that gap, because there is a gap at the moment that you need to bridge.
Okay, great. Thanks everybody for. Yeah, sorry, you go. So let's say the last question. I'm going to ask my last question for tonight, and I think we're going to then release Nimrod. There was more time that we actually agreed to in the beginning, and I don't want to hold you hostage. So just the last question is. So you went through all this process, right? Maybe you got an interview or two, or you got so far. Now you got a rejection, and let's say this is going to be in the first take-home assignment. You get a rejection. How do you deal with it? How do you turn that into something positive, something constructive?
Yeah, that's a great question, because a lot of people don't do that. I mean, what I would advise people is to always ask for feedback. I mean, be sociable about it, be nice about it, but just ask for feedback. We really like to give feedback, at least at Lightricks. We like to give feedback. Not all people love to receive feedback, so we always wait for them to ask for feedback. But if they ask for feedback, we gladly give them, and be ready to accept the data points about your performance, and then use it to leverage yourself to the next level, to either to the next interview in a different place, or even within the same company. Sometimes they'll say, look, you're lacking in this and this specific domains. You can then go and say, thank you so much for the feedback, do some internal work, and then come back to that company and say, look, guys, I've tried once, and these were the main areas where I was lacking. I've completed these things. Look, I've done this and that and this. Would you consider giving me another chance? There's a good chance that if the interview went well, if your assignment was good enough, and it was just a matter of a point, not a knockout in terms of rejection, that they will want to hear you again. I mean, again, it's their best interest. And it is your best interest to hear the rejection, but you have to be emotionally stable enough to contain it. I mean, you have to be able to hear someone telling you you're not good enough at X, and not make it about yourself. Just saying, okay, this machine that operates in my body right now doesn't yet have the relevant proficiencies needed for that required task. Great, now I know. Now I'm no longer blind about it. Now I can actually do something about it. So it's a great opportunity, but you have to come to it with the right state of mind. I mean, some people come to it with the wrong state of mind and begin to argue with the criticism instead of with the constructive criticism, instead of say, okay, I hear you, I understand, I may disagree, but at least I have your perspective now, I'm smarter. So I advise you to come with this approach. It's really useful.
And when you say anymore, in many cases, it couldn't even be that you're good for this position. You obviously everybody has flaws, but it's not only because of that. You met. There was a Messi in this round of interview. There was like a star player that you anyway just couldn't. No chance you could compete with him on this round, right? So you try next time around. There might be you might be the best one in this round, but being the best out of a few hundred candidates is not going to be always the easiest part. My question is, could you take it even further and then say, okay, so for this position I wasn't a fit, and I see that, and let's say you have a good experience in the interview, could you even take it? And this is just an idea I have. Could you actually take it? Okay, so I'm not a fit for you right now in Lightrix. Would you recommend me to some of your colleagues, and not necessarily you as a recruiter, but let's say the other hiring managers, some other companies or some other of you in your network? Would you, because right now they just finished a 1 or 2 hours session with each other, right? He knows you very well. Would that be too chutzpah to ask for that?
So framed properly, I think nothing is too. It's all a matter of how you present things, and if you respect the other side in the process. Definitely. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a possibility. It's hard for me to say because, you may want to first exhaust your options in that company and make sure you have another window of opportunity further down the line, like say in 3 months from now, or because if you say that, then the focus shifts and you may be heading in a different direction. But generally speaking, yeah, sure, you can, after you've received criticism or the review or the feedback, the rejection notes, you understood it, you grew from it, and you say, look, if you have any ideas, any tips, perhaps you think of other great companies that I may be a fit for. I mean, it's not a bad thing to do. I think it shows character in a positive way. So, in my book, that would only give the candidate extra credit. So
okay,
and it can actually land you your next job. So why not?
Yeah. Okay, great. So Nimrod, I think we're gonna stop now. Just to have you. We don't want to destroy your whole evening or your whole evening. So guys, thanks a lot for coming tonight. And we'll update you about where we're gonna do any recordings or anything. Nimrod, how can people reach you? Is it, or how, if they have any additional questions, following questions to our discussion?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, okay, I'll start with how people can reach me, and then I'll say one more thing. I'm available on LinkedIn. People can gladly, feel free to reach out. Just message me, and I'll happily respond. It may take a while. I'm not always responding on the spot, but I always answer everyone. And I want to thank you, Jonni and Vered and Danny and everyone else who participated. It was a real pleasure, and you're doing something which is really important in many ways and forms and layers, and so it's much appreciated. So thank you both for this session and for your effort, for your social effort.
Thank you, Nimrod. Thank you for taking the time in the evenings here to sit with us and give good advice to all of our listeners, and we all appreciate it. And yeah, good luck with everything. Maybe hear good things from Lightrix.
Thank you very much.
Good things in the news. Yeah. Thank you, Shlomo.
Thank you, Jonni.
Thank you, everybody. So yeah, have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thanks, bye, Jonni. Thanks, bye.